I think I'm live. If you want to check, that would be fantastic. All right, everybody. Our Kickstarter is live on Kickstarter for Capes and Crooks, a superhero 5th edition RPG. I'm super excited to answer any questions in regards to the game, the development, the Kickstarter process, whatever it is, your questions that you have about the Kickstarter. I'm here to answer them. I'm also looking if you've got some really good ideas you think would just make it that much better. I am totally on board with that. Feel free to ask your questions in the comment, and I'm going to try to hit up as many of the questions burning questions that you have about making a D&D 5e superhero story. So, and campaign setting really. So one thing I did want to kind of talk about with the Kickstarter coming on live is that I'm super excited for getting the team members together. Once we get funded, we already started reaching out to a few different supporters. And oh, okay. One of the things I want to talk about is why I'm so heavily invested in this. The project is something that was a lot of not only a lot of work, but something I really wanted. I feel like 5th edition had what it takes to really make an amazing D&D experience and also a superhero experience. The one thing that D&D does, in my opinion, not necessarily poorly, but is very restrictive, is the subclass system that really kind of pigeonholes a lot of builds. And so when it came to Capes and Crooks, I wanted to kind of do away with that. We kept the kind of the roles or the classes, and we stripped away the subclass system. Instead, opted to give you at-will powers, enhancements, or similar to kind of like mini feats, as well as, superpowers, basically giving everyone access to all these cool things that, even the martial characters can do now. So this is more, hi, Chris, thank you. This is more of a Kickstarter question. How did you determine the amount you needed to raise as a base amount? So that comes down to a lot of things: the cost of art, how many art pieces we need, how many words we expect it to be. I think right now we have written already over 100,000 words, and we still need so much more. Editing, layout, all that costs money, specifically because I don't have the skill set necessarily to do it on a high professional level. So I have to hire that out. Editing, proofreading, a lot of that comes into it. I mean, one of the adventures alone is going to be 8,000 words. And as a single person, that's just a lot of work to put on me. So we reached out to, I would say almost, would you say it's almost a dozen people to help build this project? But it all comes down to cost analysis and how much it costs to print the book. Because when you back a segment on Kickstarter for like a book, it includes the cost breakdown to actually make the book, the print cost. But there's also like delivery fees and stuff like that. So when we decide on the cost to the Kickstarter, it's always based on basically word count of what we expect. How much is it going to cost art? How much is it going to cost somebody to edit it? Because I'm not, I'm a lot of things. Not a great editor is certainly not one of them. Anybody that backs us on Patreon can attest to that. Without an editor, it's definitely rough. Layout is very costly, especially for this project. We're going to have to probably get the layout done for multiple different not publishers, people to print the book. And that's going to cost more money because it's a different layout, comparing like Amazon to New Energy to Light Source. So all that comes with a cost. What's that? Oh, sorry. Sup, our benevolent overseer. Not a whole lot. I've opened up the Q&A for our Kickstarter as it is now live. So if you have questions, this is the time to ask. Chris, did I answer your question? One thing that we really wanted to do is make sure that we pay the writers a fair wage. There is a wide gap in like per cost per writer, because some are more experienced, so they're going to cost more versus somebody who's less experienced, which means it needs more refining. So, but we tried to make sure that everyone that we reached out to with a proposal did get an acceptable um, compensation, I guess you could say. But the other thing that's also in there would be like advertising. Advertising costs a lot. I think we gotta be, I don't know if I'm supposed to give away how much we've spent just on advertising leading up to this moment. So even if the Kickstarter fails, we're completely out of that. But that's the risk you run of trying to start a successful business and produce a product that people want. Oh, and taxes. We forgot to calculate that in our first Kickstarter, and it definitely ate away at our very minuscule profits. But the goal for these isn't to necessarily make a profit, but to get the product published so that we can then in turn have a product out there that can hopefully bring in money and support the business. But right now, the goal is to always set the target price where it's going to be a success, but also not put you in the hole. But there's a fine kind of balance there. And this being a 300-page book, that's a lot of text. And though I think I recently saw MT Black poking fun at some of WotC's content because of the price versus the word count. So, but we want to make sure we have a full and fleshed out product, and that doing it right means paying people what they're worth. And we want to hire lots of people and help employ more freelance writers, because let's be honest, none of us wants to continue working the 9-to-5 job. But anyways, so if you've got any other questions, hopefully I answered your question there, Chris. A little long-winded as it is, but it's kind of my shtick, unfortunately, and my flaw. But what do I think makes Capes and Crooks different than 5e? So the one thing I think that we really got going for us is the character creation process. That was the first thing that we decided we wanted to be a core feature and something that was going to separate itself from the traditional 5e. One of our play testers from Adam DeWeese from One Shot Onslaught, and he actually said he had not had he's never had more fun creating a character than he did in Capes and Crooks, which means I succeeded in one of my number one goals of making the character creation what you want. We luckily got Rogue Watson did a really good review talking about how great the character creation is. But the thing that he really liked, and this is my big thing that I wanted, is in D&D, the kind of the analog for superpowers would be spells or feats along those lines. And the cantrips, a level 1 wizard casting a firebolt cantrip and a level 20 wizard casting a cantrip, the only difference is the amount of damage. And when I think superhero, I think them learning to optimize their powers over time and learning to use them in new and different ways. So when it came to the at-will powers, we really want it to be more than just a scaling of damage up. And a good example would be the heat. I think it's heat vision, or I think it's heat vision. And in that, it starts off just like Fireball at 1d10 damage, but once you hit level 5, not only does it go up to 2d10 damage, but it now becomes a line effect. So now it goes from hitting one target to being able to hit multiples if very much the Cyclops optic blast style kind of power. And then again, once you go up in level to level 11, once again, you get that damage increase just like you would in the cantrip Firebolt, but it also now can be used as a reaction for an opportunity attack. So when somebody provokes an op attack, you can now shoot with your heat blast or heat vision. I can't remember exactly. Heat ray. And so you're already starting to see that it not only increases in damage, but it evolves in functionality. And then at 17th level, it increases in damage again. But because it's heat ray, we wanted this thing at top level. What did you want heat ray to be? This is going to be the go-to firepower. So we gave it the power to critical on 19s and 20s as a power. And what's really cool about that is that now has to ends up becoming a kind of when you're building your character, it's like, okay, is this where I see my character going? Focusing entirely on, damage. This is definitely a power. Whether you use it as a heat gun or a ray gun or laser eyes or shooting, streaks of fire from your ass, that's kind of up to you. But we really wanted to make the powers more interesting as they leveled because you're going to be using them a lot. I mean, sure, Cyclops shoots his optic blast all the time, incessantly, but he always finds interesting and creative new ways to use them. So I want to give another kind of comparison, the Ice Beam, which is similar to, say, Frostbolt, which basically does 1d8 cold damage and reduces movement by 10 feet. But once you hit fifth level, not only does it go up in damage, but on a hit, this power creates a 5-foot radius sphere of chilled fog centered on the target. The sphere spreads around corners and the area is lightly obscured. It lasts until your next turn or until the wind of moderate speeds at 10 miles an hour higher go away. So now we've taken this more mundane, bolt of, ice frigid, energy, and turned it into more of something Iceman would use. He hits you with enough blast and it chills the area and kind of creates this condensed fog, which can lightly obscure the area, which allows for like hiding and stealth and stuff like that, and also can be more potent later on for harder to see. And now that only lasts for a short amount of time, but at 11th level, you get the damage increase again to 3d8, but now the fog effect lasts for 1 minute. So as somebody is using these powers like Iceman and they're blasting them, they can start filling the entire area with these little spotty fog spots, which totally changes the way combat is going to, unfold from there. And then, once you get to 17th level, once again, you get that damage increase. It goes up to 4d8, but additionally, you can now use your action to convert the beam into shards of icicles. On a hit, the target takes 8d8 piercing damage, and each creature within 5 feet of it must succeed a dex save or take 2d8 cold damage. You can't use this feature again until you finish a short long rest. So once again, we've evolved that power beyond what it's initially intended, so that when the player is choosing that I want to play an Ice Woman or Iceman type character, this power is really, really cool and it fits the theme, but it also changes over time so it doesn't get monotonous and boring like swinging a weapon or casting. What's that?
Wrap it up.
Oh, I'm running out of time here. I think we got time for one more question. If you guys got a question about Capes and Crooks, please ask right now. I'll try to answer it. Maybe I'll do another one of these later. But this is for the Kickstarter, so if you are on the edge about whether this is something you want, we've gotten quite a few testimonials and some pretty good reviews that have been dropped in the comments, I think, thanks to my awesome wife. But I'm really excited for this, and I want you guys to be as excited because it feels like we've really managed to capture it. Now we're just trying to get the word out better. The other thing I want to touch on really quickly is that we couldn't have done this without the support of our patrons and my players who helped me play through it. So I want to give a shout out to you guys and say thank you. If you're looking forward to, or if this sounds like something that's interesting to you, certainly consider checking out the link down below or in the chat if it's been posted. And hopefully you'll back us on the Kickstarter. Keep an eye out. I'll probably do another one of these Q&As at some point. And if you've got a burning question, now it's time, write it down. All right. I think that'll do it. Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.